Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of A Cup of Joe. My name is Joe Escobedo, and very excited today on the show. We have Asaf Ternopolsky. Thanks so much for being on the show, Asaf.
Thanks, Joe. Glad to be here.
So, for those of you who don't know, Asaf is the Director of Marketing Solutions for Southeast Asia, North Asia, and Japan at LinkedIn. And we've had the chance to collaborate on some things in the past. So I wanted to really take this time to catch up with you, get your thoughts on a few things that I wanted to ask you back then. So we'll just kind of dive right into it.
Awesome. Sounds fun.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you previously is because you look after different regions or sub-regions within Asia. I know the big challenge is that, the leadership position is how do you really prioritize the different ones? Like, where does your focus go, and how do you determine that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's not an easy answer, and it's one that involves collaboration with a bunch of smart people around the business, looking at a number of different factors. Of course, there's size of prize and things like that, and our ability to sell. And a big factor for us is sort of membership, right? And so our ability to sell against our audiences in different markets. And so and how we develop strategies based on what's going on in certain markets. So I'm really lucky to have several really exciting markets. My main ones are Singapore, Japan, and Korea. And they're exciting for different reasons, and they have different opportunities for different reasons. So our membership in Singapore is a very small country, but because it's a regional hub and a lot of global multinationals based there, Asian headquarters here, I deal with a lot of companies that use LinkedIn globally and know LinkedIn globally and use LinkedIn and other platforms to communicate or sell around the region. In Japan and Korea, those are much larger countries, of course. LinkedIn is lesser known. Our membership base is smaller in those countries. And so the opportunity is very big, but in kind of a different way. We help companies in Japan and Korea typically address audiences outside of their country. Typically, they're doing branding initiatives, upper funnel initiatives in the US or Europe, where we do have very large audiences. But because LinkedIn is lesser known in those markets, we have to do a lot more education and a lot of awareness building around the benefits of LinkedIn and why LinkedIn is such a powerful publishing platform.
No, I think that's a very good point. And one thing that I love that I still love about LinkedIn is the educational piece. I know, education plays a huge role in terms of, development and marketing and basically across the board. So, the LinkedIn Lab series that you had with, both agencies and brands on different industries, I think that one was quite well received within Singapore. We ran it in, I think, Korea as well while I was there. And so it's one of those things that I think that's what I admire above LinkedIn among a lot of organizations, is just that constant dedication to educating customers. Now, I'd love to get your thoughts on the difference between the types of educations. Now, we talked about, the awareness being a little bit stronger in Singapore versus Japan and Korea, where you have a little bit of that awareness gap. How does the education piece kind of differ between those two regions?
Yeah, so it's really in Singapore, in markets where there's greater awareness and our clientele are more used to our platform. It's really about how do we help you achieve your goals. And we can go much deeper into sophisticated strategies, insights-driven strategies, data-driven strategies to work on helping companies build their business. Now, when we talk to our clients in Japan and Korea, the objectives are largely the same, but it takes us longer sometimes to get to that level of sophistication, because first we're talking about what is the benefit of LinkedIn. So, in every conversation I have, whether it's Singapore, Japan, Korea, I end up starting with like a member benefit. Before we're trying to sell a marketer a campaign or talk to them about why we're such a powerful publishing platform, I talk about the member benefits, how you, Joe, or
Mm.
I, or any individual who's on the platform uses it and benefits from it and leverages it to be more productive and successful in their professional life, which is really aligned to our mission. So it's I'd say, you know, in Japan and Korea, we're just a little bit at an earlier stage. You'll find fewer people in those markets who are familiar with LinkedIn and hence using it in a way that is really beneficial to them as members. And so they're it takes a little bit longer to bring them into that journey of, hey, you'll benefit from this as a professional, as an individual, and here are the ways that you can benefit from it in your marketing endeavors and communicating your value prop to customers around the world. So it just takes longer, and we're further along in Singapore because of the market dynamics.
Mm. No, it's a very good approach, and I think it's something I enjoyed about the company as well, is thinking about the member first. I know it's part of the mission, but highlighting that when you're speaking to either potential clients or clients, so they understand what is the benefits for their end customer, their end audience, before you talk about them, which I don't think many tech companies do. I think they dive straight into, you know, here's the company, here's products and services, et cetera, without really understanding how does this benefit people they're trying to communicate with. So again, giving them insights in terms of the audience, in terms of, you know, their usage and behaviors on the platform. I think that was something I always appreciated about the way, you know, just outreach and things like that with potential clients.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We are one of the things I love about working here is what you said. We are members first. And so we really try to focus on that benefit to the individuals and building that trust with the individuals. And then when you take it to the next step about how an executive can develop thought leadership on the platform, which you helped us a lot with, or how a company can develop thought leadership around a product or initiative, or how they can execute lower funnel campaigns and really sell product. All of that sort of flows from that initial place of members trusting our platform, finding value in the platform, finding opportunities for networking, for education, for progress in their careers. And once they have that good feeling about all of these benefits that LinkedIn brings to their lives, it sort of elevates the ability of executives or marketers to talk about what they want to talk about in an environment of trust and in an environment where you expect sort of elevated conversations.
Yeah, and I think that was always the key differentiator of LinkedIn versus the other platforms or social media networks. Another thing I'd love to get your thoughts on is, at least in my experience, I've noticed that Southeast Asia, Japan, and Korea tend to be a bit siloed in terms of their approach. So there are ones, you know, Southeast Asia, if they're having an educational session. I know we tried to bring in the Korean Japan team, and then we flew to Japan and Korea to train their teams. But are you seeing an increase in terms of collaboration between the different markets in terms of the way they either do business, the way they communicate with their audiences?
Yeah, so I think there's opportunities to collaborate on with clients that have a regional footprint. You know, again, a lot we deal with I mostly deal with enterprise accounts that have meaningful businesses in Southeast Asia, in North Asia, in EMEA, in the United States. And so where we can, we try to share information and you know, find examples of that all the time. You know, a rep here will be talking about initiatives that are important to their client in North Asia, and the two teams will get together and talk about how they bring that to life. And we have plenty of examples of that. I'd say where it is a little bit different is what we talked about a moment ago in terms of awareness. You know, Singapore has high awareness, and a lot of these global multinationals who, if they're, you know, you can imagine a West Coast United States based technology company, and there's a lot of them that we know. You know, LinkedIn is based on the West Coast of the United States, and you know, the people there are probably pretty familiar with LinkedIn, and the teams on the ground here also, right, probably know quite a bit about LinkedIn. Again, when you go up to Japan and Korea, the awareness just isn't as high. And so in some cases, it is, but just broadly, it's not. And so that can be where the strategies bifurcate. And it's not like siloed situation or a, not wanting to collaborate. It's just, you need to think globally and act locally. And the needs of one market are different for another. If you're trying to talk about really sophisticated strategies with someone who's just trying to get comfortable with your platform, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. So we try to think about it in that way and make sure that all of the activities we're doing, the partnerships we're doing with organizations like the one that you were a part of, or marketing, are coming to market in the most effective and appropriate way given the conditions.
Once again, I think very good points. And another thing I want to get your thoughts on is, LinkedIn is traditionally known as a B2B platform, at least from a marketing solutions point of view. But what I noticed, in the past few months is a rise in terms of B2C. So for example, we talked about kind of some of the luxury brands, either globally or in Asia, that are seeing kind of a strong presence on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do you see that trend kind of continuing, or is that something that,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that trend continue. You're right. I mean, our traditional strength has been B2B, and I think we're the best platform for B2B for developing thought leadership. Full funnel strategies were definitely an incredibly effective platform for that. B2C, I mean, is a much bigger piece of the business than B2B, right? In the ad market for B2C is just much bigger. And we have huge audiences, and we have professional audiences and affluent audiences, and the kinds of audiences that high consideration B2C marketers, for example, covet. So, luxury automobile and business travel and things that an affluent audience will be buying. We have a lot of those audiences, and we have the ability to reach them in a meaningful way. And, professionals are people, and, they're at work all day, but they're thinking about what next car they're going to buy, or how they're going to travel, and what loyalty programs they want to be a part of. And they might travel in business class for work, and they might travel in business class for their personal holidays and things like that. And plenty of B2C marketers find a lot of value with our audiences, and I think that will definitely be a growing part of our business in the years to come.
That's a good point. I think you said at the end of the day, you're selling to people, whether they're in an enterprise organization or they're someone who wants to travel to a plane vacation. I think another thing that I've noticed, even with my company working with premium B2C brands, is that the sales cycle is almost somewhat similar. So for example, you look at trying to purchase a high-end Mercedes-Benz. Unless you're a multi-million-dollar where you go straight to the dealership and you drop the funds, you're probably going to do quite a lot of extensive research, look at comparisons and things like that. Basically the same process you would do if you were in a B2B. So I think it's a lot of times people don't understand that, for at least luxury goods in the B2B space, it's almost the same process that you can take, and vice versa. Like I said, I think some of the B2C brands who are doing some stuff on LinkedIn are incredibly creative and kind of visually compelling, whereas they can learn a lot. They could take that and translate that to the B2B space. Do you see kind of opportunities, once again, to learn from what both are doing in the platform?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that sales cycle, right? It's just one is in your work life and one is in your personal life, and no one is gonna. You're right. Unless you're incredibly wealthy, no one is going to make a spur of the moment decision on an expensive luxury vehicle or luxury watch. People are going to, those purchase decisions are going to be well considered, well researched, and the kinds of content that will help consumers arrive at a decision is the kind of things that marketers want to be thinking about putting in front of those consumers over time. On the B2B side, you're absolutely right. It's similar. I mean, in some cases, it's more fraught, right? When you're making decisions at work, it can impact your career. You want to get it right. You want to make sure that the people around you who are going to be impacted by the decision you make are going to be happy with the decision you make or the advocacy that you have for a solution. And so there, B2B marketers have to address the buying committee, right? They have to address a number of people who are going to be involved in a purchase decision. If you're trying to sell, expensive cloud services, for example, where you need finance to sign off, you need the IT team to sign off, you need business unit owners to sign off, you need to, it's a little bit more complex, but I think there's plenty to learn from between B2B and B2C, and you're absolutely right. Your main point about the cycle being lengthy and high consideration is exactly right.
I think you bring up another point in terms of the relationships. And I think, once again, this is something LinkedIn is very much poised for, the relationships matters philosophy. And I think that plays in quite nicely what you talked about in terms of the buying committee. So getting the different members within an organization to get, sign off on different projects. I would love to get your thoughts in terms of your approach to do that, because I know you're very good at kind of relationship building within an organization, whether it's kind of the C-suite or it's kind of the executional level. I think you do a very good job of that. So I just love to get your thoughts in terms of your approach to building those kind of relationships.
Yeah, so there's two sides. There's actually like building relationships with people and how the team does that, and then there's the execution of a campaign and how you bring insights into it and make sure that you're targeting all the members of these buying committees. So on the first side, we spend a lot of time talking about who are the important stakeholders that we need to build relationships with, and I play a role in that, but also the sales manager does, and the rep does, and people like the content marketing evangelists like on your team do that, and the marketers do that, and we spend a lot of time like mapping an organization to try to understand who do we want to be talking to. If they have an agency, which most of our clients do, we need to do the same process with the agency, and making sure that we're giving every stakeholder the kind of information they need in order to make the right decisions, and making sure that they have all the information they need to feel comfortable investing in our platform, right? All these people, when we're dealing with marketers, we're privileged to be helping the one organization in a company that is spending money on behalf of their company. And so, and we take that responsibility seriously, and we want to make sure that we are enabling them to make the best decision that they can. So that's on the people side, and we talk about who needs to know who and who does know who, and how do we get at the right people and make sure that we're addressing all of those stakeholders effectively. And then on the campaign execution side, that's where the excitement comes in. When you can help a company effectively map in a similar way what they're trying to do on the advertising side. So if you can show them using data, using analytics, using their data, using our data, a way that they can put the right information, content strategy was, right in your wheelhouse. And so working with guys like you to say, okay, this is the right content for the finance organization, this is the right content for the business unit owner, and this is the right content for the folks working in IT, and this is the right information for the folks who are going to need to integrate this technology and make sure it works with all the other systems that this company has. And let's make sure that we have the right content that we can put in front of those people, because they're the ones who collectively are going to make that decision. So we call it the buying committee, and so when you can come up with a really cool strategy to help a marketing team do that in the digital space, it's sort of like the digital representation of what I just described on the people side. And it's helping our client companies do that with people who they don't know personally, but hopefully warming up that relationship and giving those decision makers at their client and prospect companies the information they need to confidently transact. So it's cool. It's really fun. The people side and the technology and digital platform side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up another very, very good point that I didn't realize, or I got a deeper understanding when I was working with you and the team, is the ideas of like partnerships. So whether it's agency partnerships, whether it's on the tech or finance side, the idea of channel partners play a massive role in terms of some of the approaches that a lot of the larger organizations take. And I've parlayed that. We're working with some of the large tech companies now in terms of training and upskilling their own channel partners. So I think that was something that not a lot of people think about. I think when they're doing that whole buying committee process, they think, okay, who within that enterprise organization is the decision maker and maybe the influencer and so on. But they don't understand kind of who are the other partners that have a big vested interest in it. And a lot of the times, are kind of the mouthpiece internally. So for example, they lean on them. If it's a agency or a partner they've been working with for a long time, they'll say, okay, what do you think about, LinkedIn, or what do you think about so-and-so? So I love that you guys have consciously broadened that scope in terms of who we need to work with. So once again, that was my own kind of key takeaway that I've kind of parlayed from working with you and the team.
Yeah, I mean, agencies are a hugely important part of the ecosystem for us. So we invest a lot and we partner very closely with agencies. I mean, the companies are our mutual clients, and so we need to, and the companies pay agencies good money to develop strategies and execute campaigns, and so the most successful outcomes I've found are when you have a really fluid and seamless dynamic between, client and a platform like us and the agency, and the relationships are good and the communications are fluid and the strategies emerge and you can act on those together. We have some clients who say, what, we actually don't want to talk to you that much. We pay this agency to manage this for us, so deal with them. And so then we really lean in more with the agency. So, and then some, it's more, we have a stronger client direct dynamic, and then we'll make sure to bring the agency in, because if they aren't kept apprised of what's going on, or if they are not on board with strategies that we're proposing to our clients, they can things can slow down if you're not bringing all the right stakeholders along on this journey. And so, that agency ecosystem is hugely important. And of course, we've got a team, who we collaborate really closely with, who help us manage that ecosystem and manage those stakeholders.
Yeah, no, I think that was, once again, something in terms of breaking up the teams, the agency team, but also I think the sales team on the enterprise side did an incredible job of, because it's one of those things, if you're an agency, it could be perceived as a potential threat, a tech company coming in here and telling us, especially if they have a good relationship with the client. But I think what the team did was really build those relationships and say, look, we are here to help you. So let's find out what your current strategies are and how we can maybe layer on top of that or provide some different perspectives. And I think because of that, that unlocks so many opportunities on the client side, which, once again, if you don't have that approach of collaborative efforts with the agencies, you completely miss out. Because like you said, they just want to go directly to their agency and they want to say, look, they're handling it. I'm paying them a significant fund. Just deal with them.
Right.
So I think before that position, the team has already built those relationships, and then they can say, look, we're going to go with a joint plan. So for example, this agency and LinkedIn, for example, are going in to pitch this joint plan. And it carries more gravitas, because like I said, if they're already paying them, make the agency look good. Obviously the client likes it because you're providing multiple ideas and perspectives. I think it's a win-win for both. So that's something I always appreciated about kind of the structure of how LinkedIn did on the marketing solution side.
Yeah. It's working. And it has to. I mean, again, for most marketing teams really rely on agencies. They're not staffed themselves to actually bring these campaigns to life. Like they might, they'll drive the strategy, they come up with the briefs, they talk about what their objectives are for the year, but then the agency comes in and says, here's how we propose you get it done, and then we're a piece of that.
Now, like I said, this has been absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we were able to catch up. I always learn a ton when speaking with you. It's always so much fun as well. This is going to be a very rhetorical question, but how can people find out more about what you do?
How can people find out more about what I do?
Yeah, or get in touch with you, or just follow your kind of thoughts and insights.
Find me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people. I mean, that's my social platform of choice. I post some pictures of my babies on another social platform, but I'm much more engaged in my professional life on this one.
I figured that was the case, but
Yeah.
just wanted to double check. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
on
that's
LinkedIn.
where you can find me.
So Asaf, thank you so much. It's been an honor to catch up with you again. Always a pleasure. And if you're watching this and you enjoyed Asaf's interview, please do feel free to share it with anyone who might find it helpful, particularly those in the enterprise space. I think it's some really good insights that you shared today. So thank you so much, Asaf, and thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks,
Take
Joe.
care.
See ya.